What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wealth Not Wait. I am your host, as always, Coizza, and in this episode, we are talking about the top 5 ways that people waste money or spend more money than they have to, however you want to look at it. These may not be ways that people consciously know. They're like, oh, I'm spending more money than I should, but it's whatever. These are just ways that people end up spending more money than they need to. These are just ways that people spend more money than they have to, or end up paying more for the same thing or the same amount of value as they would for, say, spending less, just somewhere different or in a different situation. But that's what we're gonna get into it. The number one reason is people don't have an emergency fund. People who don't have an emergency fund aren't prepared for situations where emergencies come about, say, medically. People aren't prepared for things with their automotive, if they have to take a trip last minute or anything, for whatever reason, for funeral expenses, anything like that. People who don't have an emergency fund are not well prepared for emergencies. There's a statistic, I believe it was something around like 50 to 60% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 expense. Now, I understand, people are in hard times, especially now with COVID, but that is one of the big financial goals that you should be working towards, regardless of whatever your income level is, regardless of whatever you got going on, is I need to have something set aside for an emergency, because one day something will come about that you don't plan or expect. May not be, God forbid somebody dies, or may not be something like that, or maybe something bad happened with, your house, or you have to wait on insurance money to come in, or something along those lines, and then you end up having nothing just to take care of that. You end up, you're like, okay, how am I gonna pay for this? Or say you get into an accident, insurance goes, okay, well, you gotta pay it out of pocket, we'll just pay you back. I don't have $3,000 for a new car, I have, $40,000 for a new car, or how much your car was worth or anything like that. How am I gonna get to work now? So now I can't get to work and I don't have money to buy it, even though they're gonna be paying me back. What am I gonna do? Or then you have to fight with the company for a little bit and then end up waiting to get your money, and then therefore you lose more money because you can't get to work. That's one of the big things that people do, is they don't have an emergency fund, they don't have anything set up. And this also allows you to, part 2, people don't shop around, okay? Number 2 is shopping around and looking at places. People who are in a tight bind, if you're like, oh my God, my alternator just went out, my car won't start, I need a new alternator. What do I do? And you take it to the mechanic and they give you a price and it's wildly out of what you would think it is. You're like, I don't know about that, it doesn't sound right. You can't go get a second opinion if you need a car like that day, or you need your car the next day. You can't be like, oh, let me go take it down the street because I gotta have to call a tow truck, I gotta get everything set up, or I gotta bring it there. It's more of a hassle than you end up having the capital, the resources to deal with, so you can't shop around. Not having an emergency fund means not being like, okay, you can kind of take a step back, and I talk about it in the book. It's almost like a victim tax. There are unfortunately people in this world who will take advantage of you if you're in a victim, or take advantage of you if they can. You're in a position to it, or if you don't know better. Even if you're not, in dire straits to get your car taken care of, you'll take your car somewhere and someone, will rake you over the coals for the price. Somebody will rake you over the coals for a house, with fees, with everything in life. If you are not able to look around and look at how a market is with anything, you can get taken advantage of, and that's with pay too. A lot of people end up wasting and not getting a lot of money because they don't shop around in their sector. Say you're in retail, say you're in fast food. Okay, well, the company I'm at right now pays employees X amount for this level of work, this requirement of skill, and here's what they do. Well, company B down the street gives me $6 more an hour for the same thing. Obviously not that drastic most of the time, but say $2, $3 more, and they give a fair amount more money. They're willing to give me the same amount of hours, they're willing to do this, I don't need to require this much more effort or this or that. And you're getting paid less than you should. At that point, you need to go with the fact and say, hey, listen, I'm not getting what I'm worth. I shopped around, and unfortunately there are jobs doing the same thing that I'm doing that are getting paid more than I am. It goes the same thing with spending. You see something you really like, shop around. People will just see it and they go, oh, that's a great idea. Or they're at a grocery store and they go, oh, sure, a box of Wheaties, $4. Well, down the street, it may be $1.50. Maybe 60 cents less, and maybe 20 cents less. Every minute detail matters as long as it adds up in the big picture. You may buy everything, oh, well, I don't want to go down the street and it's an extra 5-minute drive and go to 2 different stores to go shop. Well, listen, if half your items are cheaper here and then half your items are cheaper there, okay, you spend the extra, $1.60 or whatever it is in gas, but you're saving $20 a shopping trip. You're saving $30 a shopping trip. You don't want to spend $1 to save 10 cents, but if you could spend $1 and save $20, then that's what you got to do. You just shop around. It may not be the case, but if you shop around, you go, well, I looked and this is the best bargain for my buck. And then having an emergency fund allows you to do that if you're stuck in an emergency. You don't get subject to that victim tax. You're not stuck in a situation where like, okay, well, I can't shop around, fuck, I need this now. Number 3 is not doing things DIY when you can. Obviously, if like your engine blows up and you're not anybody, you're using a lot of Carfax, because I've had a lot of car issues with stuff over the years and spending money with that. Not recently with things with like my car now, as I'll show you guys. I'm, knock on wood, pretty good with that. But in the past, the car I had, and I posted a little bit on my TikTok, the very first car I had was mechanically needed a little bit of work, electrically needed a little bit of work, and I go back and forth and spend more money than I should have, especially as a first car. You know, you make stupid mistakes. But yeah, that's not going and doing things DIY when you really can. You know, I install the radio now in the, you know, the 200 and I think now 40,000 miles. I think it's 240,000 miles now. The SUV, the Hyundai Santa Fe. The radio, the cassette, deck broke. You know, it was like 2004. So I mean, you're looking at what, a 16, 17-year-old car, and the cassette player broke. Okay, in order to fix it, I probably would have had to go get a radio. Anything brand new or OEM would probably been like $60 to $80 at least, and then had it installed by like, you know, any audio place would have cost me a fortune. Any place that, you know, like any of the mobile install places like Best Buy Mobile Install I use, they're good, but they, again, it would cost money. And I end up getting out of it over $100. Well, now I went to the junkyard, I found one that was perfect. I wasn't even really there for that. I was there to get another small piece, but I was there to get that. And I go, oh, okay, cool. And I, you know, looked it up. I had some experience. I took out one radio in my life, and it was a lot more complex than that one, and it's still, you know, a couple plugs. That's all most radios are in cars. Unless you have some super special sound system. Most of them are just, you know, you take a plug out, that's it. So it ended up being the same radio as the one I had. I got that, it was like $45, $50, and I went and installed it myself, and it took me 10 minutes. If I took it to someone, it would have cost me double that price, and it would have wasted probably an hour of my time, because you have to bring it there, fill out paperwork, get it set up. It probably would have been a 30, 45 minute thing at least. And then I would have paid double the price because somebody has to spend the labor to do it. You know, oh, plug would have been broke, something would have went wrong, and then so I would have to pay more money to have somebody else do it. I was willing to do a DIY. Things like that you can do DIY. Obviously, if you're completely out of your depth, you know, I would never try and redo a whole, you know, engine suspension system when I've never done anything like that or looked at anything like that ever before. You know, obviously something like that's out of my depth. I wouldn't try and perform, you know, open heart surgery on myself. Obviously that's out of my depth, you know. If it's gonna save a life, it's probably better to spend the money. You know, but if you're sitting there looking at something, oh, you know, an oil change, if you look at it and you're willing to do it DIY and you can do it for cheaper than say a place is willing to do it, you know, go for it. Most places cost about the same as it would cost you to do it. But something like a radio, if I'm paying double the price, I might as well do it. And then guess what? I learned something about radios. I can now do that. If a friend needs help or if I have to do that in the future, I can then do that. You know, anything, a lot of people like 3D printers. Obviously they're a big investment up front, but anytime the stupid little plastic bit on like your sound system, a stupid little plastic bit on your door, or the dumb little thing they made for that 1 year of that particular product or that model, and then you have to order it and they gotta ship it from the factory. There's always something, a little stupid thing inside of something that will break and is a bitch to fix and or get. Well, having a 3D printer or some, you know, kind of DIY method to be able to fix things up yourself is a good way to save money and not have to spend money. Get a little crafty with it, you know, if there's something you could do. If you have a tear in your shirt and you really like that shirt, instead of going out and buying a new shirt, you know, if you can get a patch or you can, you know, learn how to fix it, you know, get a sewing needle or something and be like, oh, this is something I can reasonably fix and it's not gonna look horrible. You're able to do that, you know, hemming your pants. A lot of places cost like $15 to hem your pants. You get the adhesive hem or something like that or learn how to do it. You could do it yourself for either an initial investment and then you have the kit for it and you could do that to whatever you need to, or it usually doesn't cost that much at all and then you could just do it yourself initially. You end up paying a lot more than bringing it to somebody than it would be doing it yourself. So that's doing things DIY, and then 4, being open-minded. Okay, 4 is absolutely, and this brings everything in together, being open-minded. Sitting there and willing to be like, this may not be the best solution for me. You know, taking it to somebody may not be a great idea. And doing this myself may be a good idea. A lot of people aren't like, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing the work myself. Be open-minded. Look at it, you know, I like say now I want to get my brakes done on my Corvette. Well, again, we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. But I want to do that, it would go and it would cost me significantly more money to bring it somewhere than I would to do it myself. And again, I'm looking at the project, I did a little bit of research on it, we'll get to that in a minute as well. And I was willing to DIY it myself because I said, okay, this is something I seemed like I could reasonably do. You know, less intelligent people than myself can learn how to do it and do it. You know, people who are less mechanically inclined than myself can learn how to do it and do it. Then there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to learn how to do it and then do it. So I was open-minded about that. You know, most people would be like, I'm not even touching that. That looks like more work. I'm not spending an hour, 2 hours to do it. I looked at it and I could save myself a lot of money, potentially around $400, $500 which I don't know about you, but I don't have $400 or $500 to just drop on brakes at any given time. And that's something that if I had didn't have an emergency fund and really needed that car right then and that second, I would have to go spend $400 or $500 on, and I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, that brings back why it's a good idea to have an emergency fund. But that's, again, it all comes full circle. But being open-minded and being willing to do DIY, being open-minded and being like, okay, well, let me save some money, and have it just in case, not, oh, hey, I really want to get this or this, I'll think about it some other day, saving for an emergency fund. Being open-minded and being like, no, let me try and do that now. Being open-minded and trying to find research, or just let me research the topic, or shopping around, not, oh, I don't want to do all that work. Well, you know what, I'm open-minded. Let me try and see, oh, look, there's a Walmart grocery store, a mile down the road, and they have half the things I would normally buy at, say, this Publix. Throwing an example out there. Half the things I would buy at this Publix are $1.60 more. Some places price match, there's that, but with some things, they don't. Some places they don't. It depends on what it is, of course. But the Walmart, say, would be cheaper than the Publix. Okay, so I'll buy half my stuff at here, which is cheaper and, or maybe a better quality. And then I will go down to the store and get the same thing, same size, same quality, same everything. It's just 20 cents more. Or they have a particular store brand that's just as good as the quality and just as good as the thing as a normal one, and I'm willing to get that, maybe even more size. Store brands are usually cheaper, and some of them are good as the original. Of course, it depends, but some of them are good as the original, especially with simple things like cereal and whatnot. You get a lot more for a lot less if you buy, say, a store brand, or like some snack bars or something simple like that. Okay, and then the fifth and final thing is doing your research. Again, this all comes back with it. It all applies to it. Research, shopping around. Okay, what does the market look like for this? If I want to buy this thing, this store sells it for this, I'm going to do my research and find out what this does. Is this something I can make myself, or can I DIY it? No, maybe not. Okay, I have to buy it. Well, who has it for the best price? I have an emergency fund. If I really need this thing immediately, I have a little bit of money to cushion that blow, and I can go look for it. Doing your research and finding, is this something I can do myself? Like, say, with my brakes. I found, most automotive places, all the big automotive places, want to charge $650 for a brake set. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money, Or I could look it up online. I did my research, found a reputable person on eBay. Huge brake automotive seller, has like 30,000 positive reviews and like 500 mediocre and bad reviews, not just bad reviews, mediocre and bad reviews. And they have the whole brake set better than what I would have gotten from there with the same amount of warranty, $150 signed, sealed, delivered to me. Then I did the research, maybe, another like 50, 60 bucks in parts and tools I don't have. Granted, I have some more tools than maybe other people have because I'm an automotively inclined person trying to learn to do things myself. But for maybe $50, $60 for $200, I can get out of this, where before, and then like an hour or two will work, where before I would spend $650 and bring it to somebody and then either have to go somewhere or wait and figure that out and probably lose a day to do that. Instead, I can do that in, say, 2 hours and just do my brakes. And then I learn how to do it. So if I ever have to do that in a car and it's a simple thing again, I can do that. I learn a new skill. So I did my research on that. I figured it out, with things I want to buy. I'm, really into comic books and collectibles, as you guys know. Obviously, I don't buy as much as I used to, but I do my research on it. If somebody's selling a comic book that I really want, I want to add it to my collection, and it's someone selling it on eBay for $500. Let's just throw a number out there. It bid up to $500. I'm like, ooh, I really want it, but the comic book's only worth $100. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. I also helps with stuff with things like eBay when I'm bidding or looking for prices and negotiation. I know that if I were to buy this and sell it again, if I wanted to not lose money, the market price around for it is $50. This dude's selling for $75. Why would I go and buy it for $75 unless it's an amazing condition or something special about it? Why would I buy just your average run-of-the-mill product for $25 more than it's usually worth? Doing my research, I would figure that out. People don't do their research, therefore they just spend whatever they see. Oh yeah, that seems about right, or they go with their gut instinct, without anything to back it up. Obviously, gut instinct sometimes is a good thing to do, but they have nothing to back that up, and they're just kind of like, well, yeah, no, this seems like, okay, I have $40, I'll spend $40, when really that product is only worth $20. Shopping around, you find out the place down the street, same product, same everything, same brand, same quality, they sell it for $20. This place just happens to sell it for more, for whatever reason. If it's something you need immediately, having an emergency fund would prepare you for that. Is it something that you really even need? Again, you could DIY it if you could just figure it out. Like a hanger, I got some clothesline, I can, I can hang it up myself. I need this particular item for this particular part. Okay, well, if I get this screw and I attach it this certain way, it does the same purpose. You know, obviously you want to be safe and not stupid about anything and do it right. But doing it DIY is, okay, I can put up a bookshelf and figure it out myself. I can do that instead of going to Lowe's, buying a bookshelf, have a handyman come over and put up the bookshelf. That would cost me infinitely more amount of money than, say, just getting a simple bookshelf kit and then doing it myself. It would be a lot more money to have somebody else come over and do it and get it from a store than just get a simple kit from a store or even online and then doing it myself, obviously. So those are all ways that people spend more money, is they don't do those things and they end up spending more than they have to, or they end up just spending ridiculous amounts of money on the same amount of value than they would get before. Those 5 ways are a good 5 ways to avoid spending money that you don't have to, and getting the same amount of value you're getting, or even more value for less than you would before. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have some ways that I missed, or you have any idea on things that you're like, oh, this is a good way to save money, or this is a way people spend money when they really shouldn't have to, make sure you leave that in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later.